Alrighty, guys, All Facts Media. My name is Andrew Robinson. I'm here with my twin brother, Aaron Robinson. Today, we're joined by two special guests. We have former Georgetown Hoya, Rodney Pryor, and former Clemson Tiger, Marquise Reed. How's it going, fellas?
Going good.
Going on.
So today we have a very interesting topic. There's been a lot in the news recently about, transfers and how a lot of people haven't been able to kind of move up from the lower level schools to the higher level schools that have success. Obviously, you two are two of the most successful guys coming actually both from Robert Morris and transferring up to the high major level, and we're able to have an immense amount of success. So we kind of want to start off. We'll ask you, Rodney, first, and then you, Marquise, next. First of all, when you were going into your decision, as far as what school you were going to go to, how'd you come to choose Georgetown?
Yeah. So when you're looking, because the number one thing is to play. Like, you have to be looking at where can I play at, but also you want to experience a bigger level. And if you do have the interest of high majors, you definitely want to give them looks. I think a lot of times people may go too high, and it's not to say you can't play at that level, but it's just not enough good situations at the high major level. It might be something like at the higher mid-major level, like schools like, Dayton's of the world. So when I was going into my decision, I'm a lot older going into the grad transfer process. So I think I was 23 going into it. So, and I'm like, man, like, time is of the essence for me, because in the game of basketball, that's considered old in college. So I knew I needed to go somewhere that had enough juice to push me with momentum if I played well there. So in my mind, I was like, I have to go high major. So when I was looking at schools, I had like Kansas, Florida, Georgetown, Gonzaga, South Carolina, and I was going to go on all 5 visits. But when I went to Georgetown, I saw an opportunity there where I could step in and be one of the best players there. And it wasn't from, of course you want to do it from a confidence standpoint, but I also had to do it from a realistic standpoint too. Because I know when I was going into my grad year, like, a lot of articles were saying, like, yeah, he'll be a stable senior for guys, come off the bench, average like 8 points for them, be a leader in the locker room, stuff like that. So I'm like, dang. So when I went to Georgetown, like, I watched the guys play, I watched their work ethic. Like, I'm the weirdo there looking at all the other stuff. Like, I'm like, okay, does this dude work harder than me? Like, is he coachable? Does he take drill seriously? Like, I'm looking at all those things to see, like, where I can come in and have an advantage at. And I think looking at the smaller details is what gave me a chance to go to Georgetown and, be one of the better players there.
How about you, Marquise? What allowed you? What kind of brought you to Clemson?
Well, during the transfer process, I'd say definitely you want to go somewhere where you're going to play. So coming from Robert Morris, I didn't know what level like I was going to go to, but when I started hearing like from schools when I started transferring, that gave me a better idea like where like I can go. So when like Clemson, USC, California, Tulsa, I wasn't necessarily like focused on going to like the biggest school. Like, I was focused on like going somewhere where I'm gonna get like a better opportunity basically to go to the league. Because like when we was coming up, like mid majors, it wasn't too popular if somebody going mid major all 4 years and going to the league. Of course, you got your Damian Lillards and guys like that, CJ McCollums, but that's like once every blue moon. So I want to just go somewhere where I can get more exposure every night and where a team that would need me. You know what I'm saying? So at Clemson, then the ACC, one of the best conferences, and I knew I could make an impact there because they're not a so-called basketball school. You know what I'm saying? So I went there and we made a huge impact, like right off the break. Went to the NIT first year, second year, took it to the Sweet 16, which they ain't been to in like over like 20 years. So I think I made the best decision as far as that.
And to add to that real quick, Aaron, too, what mattered for me in my decision was the strength of the schedule. Like, I needed big games on my resume too.
For sure.
So when I saw Georgetown had Maui on the joint, I was like, yeah, that.
And Maui definitely not a bad place to spend a couple weeks in November for sure.
Yeah, it
For
was
sure.
nice out there.
So obviously there was an article that got put out the other day by Jeff Goodman, and he basically was basically saying that there was out of every guy that had transferred from mid-major to high major that had averaged double figures at that mid-major school, I think it was something like less than 50. Like, the majority of them had their solid production decreased by at least 50%, and none of them averaged double figures. So obviously you two are guys that both transferred high major and was able to keep that same production at the same level or even take to another level. So how are you guys able to do that? Keith, we'll start with you for this one. How are you able to, I guess, sustain your production from coming from a level like an NEC to the ACC, and then we'll go to Rodney.
So I think my sit-out year helped me the most because, like, I got acclimated to, like, the workouts and, like, just, like, the size and length of guys at the high major level. So I got a whole year, like, just work out, get my body right, get my on-the-court skills right. So that helped me. So by the time my redshirt sophomore year came, I was ready. Like, I was coming off the bench, but I still, like, had a high production rate. Like, I was probably playing, like, 20 to 25 minutes a game, averaging, like, 10.5. So then junior year, my minutes went up, probably like 28, 29 minutes, average like 16. So, like I said, that 1 year that you transfer out and you sit out, like, that really helps. Because I think, like, if I just went straight in, I still would have did what I did. But it also depends on, like, my minutes and stuff. So I played less minutes my sophomore year, but I still had a high production rate. But like I said, you just gotta get acclimated to the game. Like, and Clemson is a school where, like, you need a year to work, like, you know what I'm saying? Because they like building, like, 4-year guys. Like, they like getting their guys, like, ready, like, knowing the next play, like, things like that. So they want to make sure you're ready in all aspects of the games, other than going to, like, a Duke or North Carolina where they play their freshmen freely and they get to do whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it all depends where you go, like, coming from the mid-major that you came from.
Yeah. What about you, Rodney?
Yeah, even the tag on the Keeses. I remember. So I remember after Keese's North Carolina performance when we were at Robert Morris. You remember we got on the bus, bro. Your phone was jumping. Like, I'm talking ESPN, like, everybody, like, yo, you got to get out of there. And
Drilling.
you know, when you start killing at a smaller school, I think there's way more than just looking at the PPG that matters. Like, I think a lot of times people struggle going up because how were you scoring? Like, how were you producing? Like, in the NEC level, our big man was like 6'6". So if I was just to the rack guy finishing all the time, like, my percentage around the rim was like 70%, I wouldn't be confident enough to tell that person, go to Clemson, because every center is 6'10" with dumb bounce and their elite shot blockers. Like, you've never played against an elite shot blocker. You were going against 6'6" big men. So I think, like, the way you score matters. And I think it translated for me and Keith because it was every level of scoring, from three, from mid-range, get into the rim, you know, being able to play off the ball a lot, because our system was a lot of rescreen. So we were able to play off the ball. We didn't need the ball in our hands 24/7. And I think a lot of times guys now dominate the ball on their mid-major or low-major teams. And when you get to, you know, the ACC or the Big Ten, you're running sets. You don't always have the ball in your hand. Like, you might play more through your point guard, or you might play more through your big man. So if you're a wing, you got to be conscious of that. When I left, so mine was different from Keith's because I had to play right away. But I think I was groomed up to my transfer point to be able to play right away. I experienced, you know, a multitude of adversity in JUCO when I broke my foot and tore my ACL. So from a psychological standpoint and a mental standpoint, like, I've been through, you know, the darkest areas of basketball. So when I got to Robert Morris, you know, I had to play with the knee brace. You know, I had to build my confidence back up and, you know, play at a certain level so that I could even have a chance to get a year back. And, you know, by my senior year, you know, after my junior year, I was like, I can play at any level. And then this was the time where I got with Drew Hanlon. So at that time, I got introduced to professionals and seeing them work out and, you know, seeing the way they go hard and the way they take it serious. So at that point, like my mentality was I'm ready. It wasn't like from a delusional standpoint just because I'm killing dudes in the NEC. Yeah. And so now at the time, I'm 23 years old. Like I'm pretty much a grown-up still in college basketball. So I think that also was my advantage when I transferred up to Georgetown. But again, I think the biggest part when people are looking to move up is you got to be real with yourself. Like I know we all at the crib talking to our boys like, yeah, I'll do him, or in pickup, I'll be killing him when I'm back at the crib. But you got to be realistic. When you get in a college game, how are you scoring? How is your production? How much do you have the ball? Because when you go high major, you got 3 top 100 recruits maybe coming in. So are you okay with not touching the ball every single possession? Like, I think all those factors are what people look over when they go to the next level.
So obviously with the new transfer rule that's about to be voted on, it's a possibility to where guys can be eligible right away without having to sit out. And, you know, something that Rodney has said kind of got me thinking, where you said after the North Carolina game when Marquise had, you know, 20-something points, his phone was buzzing and people were telling you got to get out of things like that. What do you think will be the implications if this transfer rule does get passed? I mean, potentially you could have a guy in a mid-major play a high major, have 20 points, and I mean, literally you could be in the handshake line and coaches could be saying, hey, man, like, we'll be in contact type of thing, you know? So, I mean, like, what do you think that's going to do for, I mean, mid-major basketball? Like, and what are your thoughts on that rule in general? We'll start with Rodney, and then we can go to Marquise.
For starters, it's going to be way more entertaining. You see much just leaving left and right. But I think for the athlete and for the athlete's family, it does more damage on the inside than what the world will really see. Because you see, I mean, time in, time out, we see, man, I remember that dude, like he was a killer. He should have been in the league. But now he back at home doing nothing. And I think that's another side we have to be aware of, that with all this transferring doesn't mean the grass is going to be greener on the other side, because also in the transfer process, if the head coach is not involved in your transferring, that's not a good sign. Like, so if you got 4 really good mid-majors and you have 2 high majors, but only an assistant is recruiting you from the high major, that's not, you might want to stick to the 4 mid-majors because all the head coaches are involved. Because when you get to the bigger levels, it's more influence from the head coach, of course, but then like if you're not recruited by the highest assistant, then you got to start thinking the highest assistant is going to be pulling for his recruits. So people forget about that dilemma for the coaching staff. Like, hey, like I brought this guy in, we need to get him some minutes. So with the new rule being in place to just transfer whenever you want, I think it'll be beneficial for just certain individuals. It's not, it's going to be good for everybody. I think it'll do more harm for the majority, but some will find a way to take advantage of it.
Yeah. Based off of Rodney said, I think it's going to be interesting how it pans out. Because you want to see, like, if a guy can go from mid-major to high major and do exactly what he did at the mid-major to high major the following year. You know what I'm saying? So he basically has, like, a summer to get right and get acclimated to everything and go right in and do what he did. So that'd be interesting.
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see,
like
too, with high major guys going down. Because, you know, it's so funny. Like, in the league, when you get your stamp in the league and you come play in the G, like your swag is different. Yeah. Like your aura is different. Like you're like, I'm y'all beneath me basically. Yeah. So, and that's their confidence propels them to play well, even if you don't even think they're that good. So
and I think high major dudes that go down and still don't do nothing.
Yeah.
So that'd be interesting too.
Right.
Yeah, to see the dudes that don't perform, because then all, the pressure from being a top 100 kid, and you like what happened to him and stuff like that. Because it's crazy, because Trayvon Duval was the #1 point guard in high school, and he don't even like get in the game in the G.
Get in the game,
Like I remember, bro, Keith, when I was at Georgetown, bro, I went to his game up at the Mather when they had that big high school tournament. Man, that boy looked like Kyrie Irving in the flesh with bounce. I'm like, yo, but also me watching, I'm hating out there because I'm like, nah, he ain't gonna be able to do that at the next level because, bro, he windmilling on like 6'2" centers. So I'm like, he's tough. Don't get me wrong, but it's different when you got to go up against a 6'10" big man, or in today's high school basketball. I'll be looking at, man, when I was coming up, it was a fantasy to play varsity basketball. Now it's like 5, 6, 8th graders playing varsity basketball now. So I think, the levels of play also isn't good for players once they get to where everybody's on the same level.
Yeah. Last question for you guys. You can keep it kind of quick if you can, but obviously you guys have both finished up your season playing professionally. Marquise, you finished your first year playing in France. And Rodney, you've been overseas in the G League for a couple of years, back and forth. How do you think that move, from the lower level to the higher level, helped prepare you guys for your pro career? Do you think that it helped you, or do you think that if you had stayed at that lower level, you still would have had the success that you had in the professional ranks? Start with you, Keith.
Yeah. No, I definitely think it helps because, like, when you pro, you playing against grown men, and like, so if you're playing in a high major league, then you're playing against the top competition, which is the closest to like the NBA or like professionally overseas. So I think that definitely paying you out to be able to compete. Like your first year out, like you're ready to play. If you're coming out of high major and you did your works and you worked hard, you're definitely ready to play professionally, whether it's overseas, G League, or the NBA.
Yeah, I think both ways help. Like staying will help because, I think at the major level, like you grind. Like practices are a lot harder than they are, at the high major level just because of discrepancy in talent. You got to, go a little bit harder. So I think that helps you when you get overseas, because overseas now is a different ball game when you're talking about working hard. You got 2 days hard, like, and then you got to wait.
Yeah, they don't care where you came from. They don't care if you came from. Yeah. They don't care if you came from Benedict College. They don't care if you came from.
So and then
Idaho State. They don't care, bro. Most of the time, they don't even know where you from, bro. So.
Yeah. So and then like what Keith said, going up levels, you're going up levels to more mature bodies. Like dudes are NBA ready, like bigger, stronger, faster. So that gives you a chance to prepare to go against someone that's 32 years old and you're only 22. So I think going up levels helps you that way in terms of like body maturity and just a mindset maturity. But being high major the whole time sometimes hurts high major guys going over because, bro, when I got to Georgetown, we had 24-hour access facilities. Like, we had everything.
Yeah.
So, like, I can see how guys get complacent. Yeah. But when you go overseas, I was in first division Turkey. Bro, our locker rooms had mold. Like, you wasn't just getting gourmet meals. Like, we're not going to 5-star restaurants. No. Like, the hotels out there are literally a box. Like, so, like, if you're not used to that, it could shock your system, and you like, I'm not playing in this.
Yeah, I was about to say it's a blessing and a curse. Like mid-major was like, dang, all right, I'm used to this. Like I'm used to not having nothing. Like I gotta make it do what it do. And high major dude be like, dang, bro, I ain't used to this. Like what I'm doing here. Like it's not for me. I'm ready to go home. I can't get in the gym at 12 a.m., 1 a.m. They ain't bringing us meals out back. Cheese steaks.
You over there eating,
It's a blessing and a curse, bro. Like, we don't got no trainers to work us out. Like,
nothing.
What I'm saying? So it's a lot.
The player you go over there as is the player you gonna be when you get out there.
Yeah. That's a fact.
Uh,
Fact.
Thank you guys for joining us today, man. We really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your expertise on this topic. So, thank you guys. Best of luck next season. Wherever you guys end up playing, man. And again, thank you for coming on with us today.
Yeah, appreciate you for having us.
No problem, man.